Hey, guys, it is Allison. I am the host of your show, Allison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? It is Allison from Allison Answers. I have an incredible guest on today. I am not sure if a bio could express what she is about to offer you. She is about to offer you a way out of tragedy into triumph. She is about to offer you a way to find your resilience, to find your superpower of perseverance. She is here to show you how, through an unimaginable tragedy, she was able to overcome pain, fear, the recommendations to not to give up. She was able to overcome those things and become a powerhouse motivational speaker with energy and tools and tips that will help you to transform the life that you have. And I ask that you do not run into the concept of invalidating your own pain because of the severe nature of hers. I ask that you take a moment to pull back and allow yourself to validate your own pain so that you can move into your own triumph without discrediting yourself because of how serious her difficulty has been. I would like you to know that Amberly is a motivational speaker, that she's written the book about grit and grace, true grit and grace, which is overcoming, turning tragedy into triumph. She started her speaking career after this tragedy, which happened May 10th, 2010. I'm going to allow Amberly to tell you the details of this tragedy. I'm going to allow Amberly to tell you what it was like to experience the different things that she felt and experienced. And I ask that you take in this incredible learning experience, her unwavering commitment to regain her active lifestyle, her unwavering commitment to overcome this was one of her superpowers. You're also going to hear that she had other things in her life that were difficult. She's a survivor of sexual abuse and divorce as well. And this right here is something that, if you allow it, will change your life. Without any further ado, here's Amberly. Hey, guys, how are you today? It is Allison from Allison Answers and Lago Counseling Services. I have an extremely special guest today. She's special to me. She will be very special to you. And I want to tell you what's going to happen and what you're going to experience by being in her company. You're going to experience an incredible resilience and an incredible perseverance. And you're going to be able to take whatever is happening in your life and create that same resilience and that same type of power that we feel like we don't have in really dark times. And Amberly Lago is this special guest. And what she brings to the table here is, I want to frame for you what you're going to experience. And it will be life-changing if you let it. And I ask that when you hear Amberly's story, that you do not dismiss your own and make it that because she has had an unimaginable tragedy that has interrupted her beautiful life. She had a beautiful life as a professional dancer, as a fitness trainer, a mom, living, everyone says that Amberly was living the California dream life. And this is true. And no matter what you're going through in your life, I just ask that you do not, when you hear this unimaginable tragedy that occurred on May 10th, 2010, in Amberly's life, that you do not say, oh, I'm going to utilize what Amberly is saying in order to dismiss my own pain and be guilty for feeling it. So I just want to make this a precursor to what you're about to hear. This is about Amberly sharing with you how to, strategies, tips, how to recreate your life even though you're in pain. So without any further ado, I want to welcome you, Amberly. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Allison, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here with you and get to connect with your amazing audience and all your listeners. And before we even hit record, you already had me in tears. We just had a moment. You guys, like, I know that you listen to Allison and you love her, but she is like the real deal, legit, like off air, just as amazing and special and down to earth and comforting and supportive as she is on air. So thank you so much for having me, and thanks for having me here to share with your amazing listeners.
You know, you made me cry right there, but I'll tell you, the thing about your life and who you are, as I was saying off camera, I was saying to Amberly how, you know, a lot of times when someone is well known, I mean, Amberly speaks everywhere. She has TED Talks, she's on podcasts, she's a motivational speaker, she's just going around changing lives every day. And usually when I have someone like that, I feel nervous. But with Amberly, I didn't feel nervous at all, because there's something about her spirit. And I think once a human being has gone through the type of tragic and repeated painful experiences that Amberly has, it makes you a very loving and a person that shows other people their lovability. And I just see that's what I feel from you. And you know what, I would love, if you are comfortable, I would love for you to share your story and kind of, you know, I gave the little precursor about what your life was like pre-May 10th, 2010, but would you be willing to share what happened to you and how it's changed you and created who you are today?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. You know, I think that sometimes when we're going through something really hard or really painful or really challenging, it's hard to imagine that there can be a blessing that can come from it, or anything good at all that can come out of that situation. And I can say that I'm actually grateful for every challenge, every hard time that I've ever gone through, because it's made me who I am today. It's connected me with the people that I was supposed to, connect with. It's connected me with you, and so, growing up in a small town in Texas, I always felt like I didn't quite fit in. Like, I had these big goals and aspirations, and people thought I was crazy. They're like, you want to move to Hollywood to be a professional dancer? Like, good luck with that. And I remember people made fun of me. I remember, my stepmom packing up my little Suzuki Samurai, and my stepmom saying, I think you're making a big mistake. And my mom saying, why are you packing up all your things? You're going to be back in a couple of weeks. Well, I wasn't. It was 31 years in LA. And I just moved back to Texas, but I ended up, the first month that I was there, being hired to dance on MC Hammer's music video, Can't Touch This. And I was like, I've made it. Oh my gosh, I'm dancing on MTV with MC Hammer. You know what I mean? And so I had a successful career as a dancer. I think I've always been an entrepreneurial at heart. I started working when I was 13. I created my own business, choreographing drill team numbers for drill teams, huge in Texas. So I would choreograph all the numbers for them, and figured I could make more money actually selling these dances that I created for the drill team than I could for an hourly wage. So thinking back, like, I always had this entrepreneurial mindset. Once I knew I wanted to retire early as a dancer, 25 was like old. I was like, 25. I'm retiring when I'm on top of my game. I don't want to be old. And so, started my fitness career. I was, sponsored by Nike. I was doing infomercials. And I really thought like it was a lot of grit. It was a lot of hustle to develop this company where I wasn't just a trainer. I had trainers that I employed. I taught a trainer certification preparation course, but that was all like in the blink of an eye gone. My whole life being into dance, into fitness, into using my body to make money. That sounds kind of weird, but I mean, but I was a walking billboard for fitness and health. And coming home from work one day when I was hit by an SUV, I was on my motorcycle and I was hit by an SUV, thrown 30 feet. And I remember sliding across Ventura Boulevard and just praying, oh, please don't let another car hit me, because I couldn't tell what I was sliding into. In that moment, when I looked down at my leg, one of my first thoughts was, oh, this can't be good. I might have to train clients on crutches for a while. Like my mind is always like, well, what can I do? How am I going to get through this? What am I going to do next? I had no idea that I was literally bleeding out on the street. My femoral artery was severed. Luckily, there were paramedics at the Coffee Bean right down the street. They didn't even get the 911 call before they are already running to me, bag in hand, running to me. Before they even got the 911 call, they heard the accident. So they got there right away. A man, he was my guardian angel, made a tourniquet around my leg, stopped my femoral artery, stopped me from bleeding out, rushed to the hospital, put in an induced coma. And when I woke up from a coma, I learned that I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation, that it was basically a war wound. There was nothing they could do for me. And in that moment, talk about like being resilient. What I focused on, oh, there's 1% chance. Well, then you're saying there's a chance. Well, we need to find a doctor who is willing to take that chance with me. And let me tell you, it took an act of God to get me transferred to a different hospital for a doctor that was willing to take that risk and take that chance on me and save my leg. It took 34 surgeries. One day at a time, one surgery at a time, excruciating pain, endless hours of physical therapy. They saved my leg, but it was really the beginning of my transformational journey, because that's when I was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome as a result of the accident. So yes, going through 34 surgeries was hard. It was a lot. But living with daily chronic pain that's ranked highest on the pain scale from a nerve disease that's incurable is where my real journey began of how can I live through pain and build upon my joy and learn how to thrive. And so what I really want to share with anyone listening today, that there are absolutely ways to get through tragedy. There are ways to build and strengthen your resilience and build your grit. And so I want to share everything that I've learned. And I'm still learning. I'm still like before we started recording, I was telling you, yeah, I still feel like I'm not quite as sparkly today. I just got back in town and I'm trying to get through the pain that's flared up, because it kind of flares me up when I've been flying and when I've been on my feet and stuff, but I'm still learning along the way. So I want to share everything that I've learned in hopes that will really help somebody, whether they're going through any kind of a pain, but whether it's, physical, whether it's emotional, spiritual, whether it's financial, because my gosh, we had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses.
Oh my God.
I completely lost my career and had to reinvent myself at 45 years old, starting over from nothing. Like literally people would say, oh, well, she's lost it all, but I didn't lose it all, because I still had hope. I still had my faith. And if you've got those things and you've got a purpose, you can get through anything and you can completely reinvent yourself and rebuild your life again.
No, I'll tell you what I'm thinking, just what pops in my mind as you're sharing this. These flashes in my mind are coming about, like your life represents a story that's told to us. I think about like in the Bible that Jesus was, he spoke in parables, right? These stories. And like, this is what I'm listening to, and I'm thinking that your story is something that reflects all of this back to us. You had said on, pre-recording, you were saying how each time, each experience with pain, you're gaining something else. Like you're gaining this other strategy, or this, you're learning something. And it hit me when you said it then, and then even just now, I'm thinking that isn't that like, that's like your story, but it's like a microcosm. Your story is not the microcosm, your story is the big story, but it's like it's like a microcosm of these little experiences of our lives, all these different little pains that we're learning from. I'm gonna, for myself, what I've learned through my life is that pain, we all want to avoid it, obviously, but it is the blessing. Like without pain, I think about where would I be? I'd be superficial, shallow. There would be nothing to me. It's the greatest gift that you don't want ever.
I know, but it connects us
Yes.
on a deeper level. When you can
Yes.
talk to somebody who has been through something similar and you're like, oh my gosh, you understand my pain. Let me tell you, when I was, out of work, and I was trying to go back to training, and luckily I had these amazing clients that were like, yes, I'm ready for you to train me. And I was like training them, beat up, on crutches, still stitches, like whatever. I still think I needed them more than they needed me.
Yeah.
But I felt so broken. And I went from training these athletes and getting these big, strong men that I would get them ready, physically fit and ready to take their CHP physical to be onboarded as a cop. So I was like working with boxers, training fitness competitors. And now I felt so broken. Who's going to want to train with me? Who's going to work with me? Guess what? My business actually boomed because people were like, oh my gosh, I see what you did. You were in the gym in your wheelchair. You were in the gym with your walker. You were in the gym on your crutches. You were back in a wheelchair. You were limping around. Like, I have no excuses. If she can do that, I can do it too. But the greatest compliment came to me, speaking of pain, came to me from one of my clients. And she said, Amberly, you are a better coach now than you were before, because now you understand my pain. And I think that that is a gift that pain gives us. It allows us to empathize, to have more compassion, to give ourselves and others more grace, and to be kind, and it teaches us humility.
It does. It's so much gratitude, right?
Oh, so much gratitude.
Which is supernatural. You would think it seems counterintuitive, right? But it really is incredible. And just being, when I hear your story, just tears just fill my eyes, I feel like I almost can feel your heart, like I can feel you. And that I think that so much of our suffering on earth is this disconnection we have from one another, and it is fun, not funny, haha, but how it connects us. In these moments, long moments, long periods of time of, not of just pushing and grit and perseverance, I'm sure you had these times of despair, no hope, just afraid, or, could you describe that?
Gosh, I still get afraid.
Yeah.
There's sometimes my inner critic will pop up and I'm like, who do I think I am? Why am I invited to speak at this event? How did I get so lucky to get to talk with Allison today? Like,
you just did not think that.
But my gosh, the inner critic will pop up.
Yeah.
And I can just beat myself up.
Yes.
And yes, there's been times I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get through this? And you know what? I think it's so important to ask yourself the right questions.
Love it.
First of all, like ask yourself the right questions, empowering questions. And I was asking myself all the wrong questions. I was saying, how am I going to get through this? What am I going to do? How am I going to get through the pain? What am I going to do for work? How am I going to pay the bills? Like I was asking all the wrong questions. And it hit me one day when I was in the hospital bed. And so I had a hospital bed set up in our living room because I was bedridden. I had to use a bedpan. I couldn't even stand up. And my leg had to be elevated at all times. It was stuck straight. And I was asking myself all these questions, having a pity party. And I heard this little voice from upstairs. My daughter was 2 years old. And I heard her say, Mama. And I just was like, oh, that's why I'm going to be able to get through this day. That's why I'm going to learn to walk again. That's why I'm going to learn to run again so I can chase after her, even though the doctors told me I would never walk or never run again. And I realized at that moment, I was asking myself the wrong questions. I didn't need to ask what or how. I needed to ask why. Because when we ask ourselves why, it activates the human spirit. And the human spirit is powerful beyond measure. We can move mountains. We can summon up the energy and the passion to keep moving forward. And so it's learning to ask ourselves the right questions, why we're doing what we're doing. And most of the time, when I get in my head about like, I just spoke at this big event and I was the only female speaker there that wasn't like some billionaire yet.
That's right,
But
girl.
all the other women were like, it was like Jamie Kern Lima, Candy Valentino, Amy Porterfield. And then there was me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why'd they ask me to speak? Like, I'm not a billionaire yet. Like, these are all billionaires. Like, and I was getting in my head and I'm like, wait a minute, stop. Like, why do I do what I do? This isn't about me. This is about the people I serve. This is about showing other women that they have a voice, that they have hope, that they have resilience, a never ending supply of resource of resilience within them. And so when I start thinking, well, this isn't about me, this is about the people I serve, then I'm not nervous. It takes my ego out of it. And then something I do every single day that helps me, and it's the quickest way to shift your perspective and the easiest and the cheapest, like the least amount of money, yeah. Quickest way, get grateful. And I know that sounds super simple, but it's something that I practice. It's something I share, and it's something that I do every day. I have a group of women. We call each other the God Squad, and we text each other every day, 10 things that we're grateful for.
Love it.
And one of the things on my gratitude list today was that I get to talk with you and connect with your audience. And when I started to notice how much gratitude changed my life was when I was in the hospital and I started spiraling down into despair and depression and hopelessness. And I thought, wait a minute, I've got a choice here. I can keep going down that road, or I can stop and write down everything I'm grateful for, because it immediately shifts your perspective, shifts your mindset to everything that you do have instead of the things that you don't have, and all the things that you can do. So I was like, okay, I'm stuck in this bed. I can't get up to even use the bathroom on my own, but my friend Danny that I work with brought me dumbbells. I can do bicep curls. I had doctors install a pull-up bar. I could still keep my upper body strong. Couldn't go outside, but I could see a view. I had a window and I could see the sky. I had family and nurses that were taking care of me, clients that were coming to see me and bringing me healthy food. So immediately when I started thinking of all the things that I was grateful for, it totally changed the way I felt about my situation. And so, a lot of times people are like, well, I'm going through a real struggle. Like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. My life sucks. It's hard. Yeah, I know times are hard. People are really struggling right now. And I have days where the moment sometimes I don't even have to take a step out of the bed. Sometimes I just hurt when I'm lying in the bed. That was one of those days today where I was like, that's the reason I told you I've been up since 3:30 this morning, because pain woke me up out of a dead sleep. But there's always something to be grateful for. I could be grateful for, I'm alive. I can breathe. I might be in pain, but I can actually get up out of the bed and use the bathroom on my own. I can, you know what can I do today? I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to treat myself, and I'm not going to make my own coffee. I'm going to go out and buy myself a fancy coffee. It might be from 7-Eleven, but they have espresso now. No, but when you think about what you're grateful for, your world just gets bigger. It just makes you feel alive and grateful for all the things that you can do.
It's incredible. And I know, we've all heard this, that like gratitude is a state of receivership, right? But I feel like it like connects, like I feel like it's supernatural gratitude. Like it has like a power to it, don't you? Like it connects us to infinite love, infinite possibilities, like everything that's infinite, and everything like our brain is so conditioned. Well, our brain is designed to scan the room for trouble, right? Everything you don't have, everything that's wrong, to keep you safe, and to conserve energy and make sure you don't move around or anything. That's what our brain does. And it's just incredible that when we override our body, and we tap into infinite possibilities, right? That then things open up, right? And
when you focus on the good, the good just keeps getting better.
Yes, it keeps coming.
And you get to meet people that you were destined to meet. Like we were talking before we started, and it's like, we were so destined to meet, like all that you talk about with tragedy and to triumph and grit and grace. And then we get here and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have a beautiful horse picture in your background. And I was like, look at this picture of my daughter. I'm a horse person too. Like, I just feel like it connects you with the people that you are energetically, you're in alignment with.
Yes. I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he was talking about like how our bodies separate us from one another. Our spirits are housed in these bodies, What, God, what were you going to say?
Oh, no. I love Wayne Dyer. And you know what?
Tell me.
Him and Brene Brown are my favorite authors. I love them. Do you know when my book published, I had people that were like, you want to write a book? Like that's a whole story, because I don't even have a college education. I didn't even own a computer when I decided to write my book. I hand wrote it in like one of these notebooks. Seriously, one of the notebooks. I'm big on notebooks, and then bought a computer to type it up. The first day it published, it was in between Brene Brown and Dr. Wayne Dyer for a bestseller.
I love that.
I was like, oh my gosh. My favorite authors, I'm sandwiched in between. Like, you better believe I took a screenshot of that because I knew it wasn't going to stay there as long. It's like, I don't know how long this is going to stay here, but I took a screenshot of that. I mean, how crazy is that? So yes, I love Wayne Dyer.
And the whole, like everything that he exemplifies, everything that he talks about is like, you're living in this body and overcoming it, right? Like that's what you're doing, like every painful moment at a time. Can you share with us how you do that? Like, because I saw your list, like, mindfulness, the different things that you do. And I know today was a harder day. So you probably had to pull on things to overcome it. What do you do on the days? I mean, I'm asking like 3 questions in one, but
it's such a good question, because I think so many of us wake up and we're like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this day? The to-do list is never ending. I'm scared about this thing, or I'm in pain, or I just don't feel resilient. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, or whatever it may be. I mean, I've been all of those things all today. All today.
Yeah.
And so I really think it starts with mindset, actually. I mean, there's no way that I could do all the things that I do living with pain if it didn't start with mindset. Now, that really upset some people in the CRPS community when they heard my interview on the doctor's TV, because they edited out this huge long interview. They edited out the part where it said, I've tried a spinal cord stimulator, I've done ketamine infusions, I've done Eastern and Western medicine. At one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills and 11 prescriptions a day. Like, those were the pills that I took, and nothing was working. And when it started to change was when I shifted my mindset around it. So the first thing I do is to shift my mindset, is what we talked about, is with gratitude. The next thing I do is I've learned to talk to myself instead of listen to myself. Because if I listen to myself, I will wake up and I'll go, yeah, Amberly, you suck. You can barely walk today. Who do you think you are? How are you going to get through the day? You can't even walk. Like, I'm like so mean to myself. I will beat myself up. So I've learned to talk to myself and go, Amberly, you got this. You are a rock star. You are going to get up one step at a time. You are going to achieve one thing at a time. It's going to be messy, but you're going to move forward. It's progress over perfection. I just talk to myself throughout the day. People might see me in my car and think, oh, that's that crazy lady over there talking to herself, but I have these negative thoughts, and I've learned to immediately, when they come up, to ask, well, is that true? And then what questions can I ask that are going to be more empowering questions that are going to empower me to get through these next steps? And then I have non-negotiables, like things that I do every day that enable me to live a better life, which is I move my body however I can, like start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So moving my body, I pray, I take time every morning to think about what my intentions are for the day, and everything I do, whether it's a post, whether it's an interview, whether it's, leading the group of ladies that are in my mastermind. I just got off a call with them, and I have this group of ladies that's in my mastermind, and I'm like, what is my intention before I go on this call with these ladies? And then I journal. And sometimes it's not like great, and you could probably hardly read my writing. It looks like chicken scratch. But when we read, and I love to read, I always have like a favorite book, on my desk, and I read either from, one of my spiritual books or from a self-development book. But when we write, when we read, we're learning about the world and other people and different perspectives. But when we write, we're learning about ourselves.
Yeah,
and that might seem like a lot of work, like to set your intentions and to have a gratitude practice and to text, the people that I'm grateful for, and to pray and to like read. All that might seem like a lot, but you know what? I've tried it the other way, and it didn't work. I needed to have accountability. That's why I need to have my gratitude practice with other women. I need prayer. I need to focus on my intentions, because if I don't, leaving me up to my own thoughts, I will go down a rabbit hole of negativity, of depression. I've been there. I don't want to go back there. And so, yes, it may seem like a lot of work, but it's a heck of a lot easier than a life of misery than I had before.
Absolutely is. What you just said right there, I think, is such a key for all of us. I love what you said when you said, I don't listen to myself, I speak to myself. That is power right there. That is, because I'm always telling people like that in that moment, and I struggle, with it. If we, because of an emotional state that pivots down a dark path, like they call it like chain analysis, like in therapy, like one thought to the next. It's like popcorn, pop, 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 pop. Like just, it goes so fast. And before you know it, over the river and through the woods, like you're in like a pit of hell, right? It's just like, forget it. So it's very hard when you're in that moment to know, to stop and to say that one thing, ask that one question that's empowering. It's so, it feels almost impossible to do, but when you do it, it like stops that chain. It's incredible, right? I mean, you experience that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like nipping it in the bud, like as soon as, because you're right, it will just lead me down a road of, I was there, I remember being in the hospital going, oh my gosh, I was watching this infomercial. I was all by myself. I had these rods that like held my leg together basically. And the nurses would have to come and change the bandages every 3 hours to try to prevent infection. And I would just like look at the clock and get ready for the torture. And there was this infomercial on, and there was this gorgeous girl running in a bikini. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, well, is my leg going to be all scarred up? Duh, obviously. Yeah. But will I be able to wear a bikini ever again? Will my husband love me? Will I be able to walk? Will I be able to chase after my kids? Are they going to amputate my leg tomorrow? Well, what if I die in surgery? Like it was just what if, what if, what if? And I was like, stop. I need to focus on gratitude and it grounds you. It gets you right in the moment.
That is, to me, that's your lifeline. Think about what would have happened if you kept on that path, that frightened path. What do you think, Amberly? What do you think pain, when it's cropping up like today or, throughout your life now, what do you think it's saying?
I think it's so important. That's such a good question. I think it's so important to listen. I think that pain is an indicator, and you have to ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? And I know what it's trying to teach me today. It's the hardest lesson that I've had to learn, and it's to give myself grace. Like I am really good at grit. I'm good at pushing and hustling and outworking and working harder. And I've done that my whole life. What I'm not so good at, and there's not that many things I can say I'm good at. Like grit's probably one of the only things I can say I'm good at, but it's the grace. It's learning to have more compassion, to listen, to rest, that it's okay to take a break. And I've really had to reframe things because, growing up as an athlete, it was resting meant quitting. Or if you're going to rest, then your understudy might just take your part. Resting meant you were weak. And what I've had to learn is resting is a part of my business strategy. And I've gotten so serious about it that I now wear a ring that monitors like how much REM sleep, how much deep sleep, like reminds me to go to sleep. I have an alarm on my phone. My phone starts blinking when it's a reminder for me that it's approaching your bedtime. And I will be out with friends and I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to have to head out pretty soon. It's my bedtime. And then the alarm, they might see my phone blinking. I'm like, see, I told you, I even have an alarm on my phone that blinks when it's like time for bed. But I need these things because if not, like my old behaviors will kick in and I will just keep working or keep going until I drive myself into the ground or the ER. Or one time when it really hit me was I was pushing, and I was septic. And
Wow.
by the time I got to the hospital, I had a kidney stone that had gotten lodged and caused an infection. By the time I got to the hospital, I was septic. And the doctor said, if you would have waited one more day, you would have been dead.
Wow.
And so that was my wake up call to, you would think I would learn a lot of lessons from going through 34 surgeries. Nah, still pushing it. It was going septic. And I thought, here I survived this horrible accident, 34 surgeries, not one infection. But because I wasn't listening to my body and I had this kidney stone cause an infection, like it could have been, I could have died. And that's was scarier than any surgery I ever went through was that realization of we're human and tomorrow's not guaranteed. Like, we have to listen to our body. We have to honor our body. We have to put our health first, because without our health, we've got nothing. And I say that because I've almost lost it all. Without your health, it doesn't matter how many clients you have or what stages that you get to go speak on, because you don't get to do it. You need to have your health to enjoy all the things that you've worked for. You need to have your health to be able to make an impact in the world. Your impact is only as strong as you are healthy.
You know, what you're describing this is another synchronicity. It's just kind of blowing me away. I had a guest on who has MS. Her name's Angela Bradford, and she describes the exact same type of thing, where just never ending, or just this hard taskmaster on herself and this whole thing. And then she got MS. And what she described was that MS taught her the art of allowing, just like allowing herself to rest. And she describes the same thing that you're saying, just like to go put it. It's almost like when she was a little kid, nobody like put her to bed. They like made her work harder, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like this idea of like putting yourself to bed and loving yourself and caring for yourself. Yeah. And
I want to listen to that episode.
Yeah. It's really, really incredible. And, you know, I know that you've been through other really incredible, triumphant changes, you know, things that you've gone through, you know, a history of being sexually abused, of going through divorce. Is there anything you could share on that could help someone else in that kind of a situation?
I remember going to a therapist years ago about a relationship that I was in and talking to her. And like out of the blue, she was like, "Have you been sexually abused?" And I was like, "Wow, yeah. How did you know?" I'm like, "But I've healed from that. I've done the work around that. I've healed from that. That's not what I'm here about. I'm here about my relationship." She's like, "Oh no, you have not healed from that. You have not, you need to read this book and this and this and everything that trauma, whether it's sexual abuse or divorce or whatever, it can impact. If we don't let those feelings rise to the surface, it comes out in everything we do, the way we love, our relationships, the way we lead, the way we parent, everything." And so I had to do a lot of work. I'm not actually quite sure if you're ever completely healed from it. I think you continue to heal, because just when I think, oh, I'm healed, I'm done with that, something will trigger me. And I'm like, dang, how did that trigger just happen?
Yes.
How did I get back to the beginning, feeling these feelings and the shame and I think the thing that it makes you feel the most when you've been sexually abused is you don't feel safe. Yes, there's shame, but you just don't feel safe. And so to me, safety, feeling safe, feeling supported is so important. But I would say anybody who has been sexually abused, who's listening, to get a great therapist to work through that. There's a lot of great books out there too. I know it affected my relationships. And I remember when a therapist told me to read Codependent No More. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so me. Like, how did I get to be like this? You know? So there's a lot of books out there, but I would also say that, you know, when you're going through something like that, you feel like you're the only one. No one's going to understand your pain or the shame or what you've gone through. But there are so many people out there that are going through the exact same thing. And so pain shared is divided and joy shared is multiplied.
100%.
So make sure you go out there, find someone that you can connect with and you can share what you're going through. And the more you can start to process, you can start to talk about it. Maybe it's just writing about it at first. It gets easier I don't say it goes away. It's there, but it gets easier, and that there are ways to start to let go of that shame. And when you own it, like I don't let it define me, but I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
And once you do, it doesn't define you. Like you're like, yep, this is what happened. And this is how I'm moving forward. And I don't have to carry that shame. It's not, that doesn't define me. And I think that when you can connect with other people who are like, yeah, this happened to me too, and they don't let that shame weigh them down or define them, you're like, ah, yeah, I can let that go. And you can move forward and give yourself grace and start to forgive yourself. And might be hard, but forgive the person who did it.
Yeah. Isn't it incredible when, I too have been sexually abused. I do understand, I relate to you in all of those ways. And I think that this, the depth of the shame, that there's something essentially wrong with me, that feeling that it can just be in the subtlest of ways that's when it pops up. And it's just another opportunity, right, to heal what the meaning we've attached to the event, right? And it's interesting to me, it's always fascinated me that in any way that we're abused, doesn't matter how, it could be anything, for whatever reason, we end up believing that it's us. We absorb the shame of it. It becomes like, but it was the other person did it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just always been fascinating to me that it silences us and it shames us, but then the actual bringing light to it is the thing that dissipates it. 80%, if shared with someone who's earned the right, as Brene Brown says, right, to hear your pain and your shame, it dissipates it by 80%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she says if you take shame and you put it in a petri dish and you put it in a dark room with judgment, it expands. If you take shame and you put it in a petri dish with light and a person who's earned the right to hear it, it dissipates by 80%. And they've measured that.
You're kidding.
Isn't that amazing?
I just got goosebumps. I didn't know that.
Yes. Yes. So there is so much to you. There's so much that we can share and go and dabble and dig out, but I want to be respectful of your time. And I know you are such a wanted person. So we're gonna close up our time together. And I just want to ask you where people could find you. It's going to be in the show notes, but I want to find out where they could find you and anything else that you want to say.
Oh, well, you know what? I really want to give your audience like something that they can use to really strengthen their resilience. So I have a playbook. It's called the Pacer Method, and it is a step-by-step guide. So if you're listening and you're like, well, I want to work on my resilience, text the word grit, GRIT, to 818-214-7378. Just that word, grit. And it will give you a free downloadable playbook, and it'll take you through the steps on how to strengthen your resilience. But also that's me. So if you want to say, hey, I heard you on Allison's show and I want to connect, it's me getting back to you. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer, but it's actually me texting you back. So just reach out. And then, of course, you can listen to my podcast, True Grit and Grace. You can find out about my Unstoppable Life Mastermind if you're a female success-minded woman and want to join, at amberlylago.com, and Instagram at Amberly Lago Motivation. And Allison, I just adore you. I appreciate you so much having me on. I love talking with you. And I told you, I was like, we're going to be friends for life. So I hope you come visit Texas.
Oh, I
soon.
am.
and you can
I
come
am,
to the
girl.
barn and see my daughter's horse and
Yes,
take some
I
pictures with
am
her horse.
coming. Thank you, my beautiful, precious friend, because that's
Oh,
what I
thank
call you now.
you.
This is a wrap, people. Love, love, love. And reach out to Amberly. She will never, ever, ever let you down.